So whenever I talk about goals, I love this talk about goals because, yes? Good? Okay. So it's really important to be able to do this, to set goals and to be able to accomplish them. And I always have this nagging thought in the back of my head, yeah, but what about, being free of desire and, always working on getting past the ego and all that stuff, because isn't that what goal setting is? And it's true on some level. You want to be able to set goals, and this is a saying, I don't know if Seafood Brown made it up or if we got it from someplace else, but when you make plans, God laughs, and if you don't make plans, God cries. The making plans and God laughs is like, kind of like, whatever you think is going to happen in life is not really going to happen. And that is actually a really deep subject, the idea of being able to just not be attached to things, right? So when we set goals, a lot of times this lives in our lives and in our minds as like a form of attachment, right? We want this thing, and I want it really bad, and I'm going to try really hard to get it. And you can just keep doing that till the day you die and never be happy, because you're going to get something that you want, and then as soon as you get it, you become dissatisfied, and then you want the next thing. And then you start working on that, and you get over there, and you finally get to that point, and you become dissatisfied, and you want the next thing. So a great example is like a new car. You really want that Honda Accord. It's got wonderful gas mileage. It's a decent looking car, and all of your friends have one. So I really want that Honda Accord, or the Civic, whatever. And then I've never had a Honda. Then you get it, and you're like, well, this has got pretty good gas mileage, but that Toyota Prius, that is just so little gas expenditure every month. I could just live like a king. If I just had that Prius, I would have everything that I wanted. So you're like, this Civic is worthless. I really just need that Prius. And then you work and you save up money and you beg, borrow, and steal, and you eventually get the Prius, and you think, that's it, I've arrived. Now I can do everything else that I want to in my life. But then the Tesla drives by, and you go, what's that car? This thing is completely electric, and it's beautiful, that sleek design, and Elon Musk is like a personal hero of mine. I've got to get that Tesla. And when you get the Tesla, you're going to want something else. It's not like you think like, well, but the Tesla is the best possible electric car. You can find something else to spend your money on. And you have got to recognize this is the nature of desire. We think, because this is the way that we have been designed, because this is like our this is our biology. This is the way that we've evolved, is to think like, I got to get that thing and I'll be happy. And it is also our design that once you get that thing and you're happy, it disappears because you want to get the next thing. This is why we've accomplished so much as a species. This is, really a deep part of the ego, is we're never satisfied. We always want something better. We always want something bigger. There is no winning this game. It's always like further down the road. So, first of all, I want to make sure that we can figure out how this fits together with setting goals, because there is a way to be able to set goals and yet not be caught up in this cycle of desire, or what do they call it? The hedonic treadmill, where it's just like I keep go trying to get something new. It's a really simple distinction. Some of you guys have heard me talk about this before. It's the distinction between being attached to something and being committed to something. So I can be committed to my health, and I set the goal, because I know how to set smart goals now, I set the goal of doing 100 push-ups every day, right? And that's something that I can be committed to. Maybe what I really want and the thing that I can feel myself being attached to is I'm trying to lose 10 pounds. I'm not trying to lose 10 pounds, but maybe this is somebody else, some fictitious person is trying to lose 10 pounds. Or put on 10 pounds of muscle, whatever. And you've got that thing that you're attached to, and if you start doing your push-ups, that's great because that's something really measurable and achievable. I can do that every single day. But then I do my push-ups for the first week and I jump on the scale and it's like, what the hell? I weigh the same as I did last week. And then you give up because you're attached to this thing, and that attachment causes us to give up. We don't get what we want and we turn into children, and it's just like, well, I'm not getting it fast enough. But if you are committed to this goal, if you're committed to your health rather than being attached to the specifics, that little bump off of the track is not going to be anything. It's just going to be something that I come right back to, right? You could even become attached to your very specific goal of doing 100 push-ups every day. And it's like, today I'm laid out with the flu and I couldn't do a single push-up. And if I'm attached to doing it every single day rather than committed to, doing that whenever I can and getting the higher goal of improved health, then that attachment is what sucks the life out of our goals. And that attachment is what really causes us to always be in this state of angst. So the first step, like with everything, is recognizing that we have a problem. If you recognize that this attachment, that this always wanting to get to the next thing, this always trying to get my desire, if I recognize that this is a losing game and there is no end to it, then I've got something. Then I can recognize, like, this thing that I really want, I might not get it, and that's actually okay. Because this whole idea of trying to get what I want is ridiculous anyways. I can also recognize that as I'm trying to get what I want, when I get it, I'm probably not going to be satisfied with it either. And that's also okay. Because life is, as Buddhism says, life is suffering. And the nature of suffering is this, because we are always trying to get to the next thing and not getting it, and trying to get to the next thing and not getting it, or getting to the next thing, getting it, and then wanting something else. So this is like the major source of suffering in life, is we want, and sometimes we get, and it is this psychological game. It's psychotic, really, this game that we play with ourselves, because we get what we want just enough to make us think that we can kind of keep getting what we want. And we have this fantasy that we can always get what we want. That's really what keeps us coming back. So to recognize you can't always get what you want, as the Rolling Stones said it in a very deep song, then you can just kind of move on from it. But that doesn't mean that I give up on making goals. That's what people do, is they go to the other side of the extreme and they think, well, what's the point of ever trying to accomplish anything? I know I'm not going to get what I want, and I know that suffering is inevitable. I know that I'm just always going to want something else, so I should just give up. That's the part where God cries, because then you're all just going to turn into, lazy slobs and accomplish nothing and die prematurely without having done anything in life. We turn into the human beings in WALL-E. Have you guys seen that? That's what happens. You haven't seen WALL-E? Oh, it's so good. What's wrong with you? So it's like we are born into this. This is our birthright. Our birthright is a life filled with always seeing something else that we want, always having another desire, and always scrambling to get it. And enlightenment, on some level, is just getting beyond that. And me just telling you this, by the way, is not enlightenment. So you can recognize on an intellectual level, well, I should just get beyond desire. And then it doesn't just like poof happen and you've arrived. What happens is you have to recognize that that's what we're trying to do. and then do the work that is getting to there. So that's why I really love goals that are designed to help kill the ego, which is such a meta mind twister, because you make the goal from the ego usually, but then you want the goal, the end of the goal, to get beyond the ego. And if we can use the ego to destroy the ego, that's real tricky. And that's like a really amazing thing to be able to do. So just like setting the goal of, this is my favorite, like when I first set the goal of meditating every single day, it was my ego that made the goal. My ego that said, I want to be able to tell people that I meditate every day. Or my ego that said, I actually have the hubris to believe that I could become enlightened in this life. Forget all those people that say it's going to take multiple lives. Maybe I already had a bunch of other lives where I was getting enlightened, and this is the one. And you kind of have to think of it that way, right? Or you're never going to make it. So your ego gets at it from there, and you make this goal to transcend the ego. And then you don't transcend the ego, and then your ego pops up and it says, well, how come I haven't gotten this yet? I better work harder. And so then it's a whole other talk about like the fact that you have to just let go of it and just get absorbed into the process and be fine with it. But what was I talking about? The main thrust of this is I gotta recognize that I have a problem. That is this cycle of desire that I'm in. And then start to actually take steps to be able to break beyond it. So the existence that we're in of duality and of the ego being in play is that which basically, like, the ego is always having these desires and it's never actually satisfied. So then I can recognize that step 2 is I want to do something about this. So the do something about it is meditation. The do something about it is, setting up little reminders where we recognize that these little things that we just need to have, I've always got to have the next bigger, better car or house or whatever it is. I got to recognize with these little reminders that are always around me that it's not actually that important. Keep your eye on the bigger picture. A great way to do this, I've found, is to pour yourself into something bigger. So the ego lives when you're kind of associating with your small self and when you're always thinking about these desires. But when you're helping somebody else out with what they need, and maybe it's their ego desire, or maybe it's like this person's starving and I'm going to help them survive, or whatever it is that you can do for somebody. In this act, my ego is gone, and my desires don't matter and are not really involved anymore, because I'm all absorbed with this person or with this group of people. And this is, in case you guys haven't realized it, why I have the dojo. This is, for me, you exist for my selfish desire to get beyond the ego and become a better person, basically. And also to, constantly need to meditate and all of that. Because if it weren't for you guys, I probably wouldn't care as much about meditating every day. Well, nobody's going to care if I meditate every day. But you guys, I have to be able to say, I meditate every day. And I do it for you, to become a better teacher. And if you're doing it to become, a better mother or better at whatever you do at work or in life, like, that is a great way to focus your energy. Gets you outside of the little self, the ego, gets you outside of this cycle of desire and gets you into the bigger picture. And it's really important that there's some kind of concrete action taking place. It's the same idea as when we make goals, because you can make the goal, I want to lose 10 pounds, and while that's measurable, that's like, I don't really have anything to go on besides that. So I've got to have these concrete steps that I take. I've got to have something that I'm going to do right now. Likewise, if my goal is just be a better person, okay, well, I'll make it more specific. I want to, I want the world to change and for, people to stop being in wars all the time. Okay, well, just sitting there and having this nice, fluffy idea. It doesn't get us anywhere. So then what? I got to have some kind of action. And in sitting there and thinking about how nice it would be if there was no war, you are still kind of in your own world with yourself, right? In taking the action that helps that become a reality, in that action, when you pour yourself into it, that's when I'm actually beyond my desire. That's when I'm just, pouring myself into something else. And I don't know what the action we should be taking would be to help rid the world of war. I think meditation would be helpful. That's another thing. When you find yourself stuck in your meditation, this is what we do, right? We get this idea of I'm going to meditate, and that a lot of times comes from the ego, and then we're sitting and meditating, and the action of meditation, the idea is to try to get beyond the ego, but then we kind of bring it back to the ego, and then that kills it. So we have to just let it go and just allow yourself to be absorbed by the bigness of it. And you might decide today, I've got to really bring myself back to being present to the fact that I'm meditating to be a better person for these other people in my life. If I'm only meditating so that I'm happier, that's going to take me, this far. But if I'm meditating for everybody else in my life, then that's going to keep me going, because I can always see that this is bigger than me. This is more important than just me, and that stops you from getting into this situation where I get a little bit of happiness from meditation. And this is what so many people do. I talked to a student yesterday who said, I was drinking a lot before I started meditating. I started meditating and I stopped drinking. And then I stopped meditating. Now, she didn't say that she's gone back to drinking, but you could probably guess that at some point that's going to happen. But at the very least, it's your meditation is obviously really great. If it got you to this point where you were able to stop doing this thing that you didn't want to do, that you were really attached to, imagine what else would be possible for you. And she's like, yeah, I know. It's stupid that I stopped meditating. And I don't know if she meditated today or not. Who knows? You're probably listening to this talk right now. Meditate. But it's like when Steve Brown says, "Do you ever do something that works so well that you stop doing it?" And this is meditation to a T, because when you start doing it, your little short-term desire from your ego gets satisfied pretty early on. I get a little bit more calm and peaceful, and I think, oh, this is great. And then you kind of just think, this is just the way that I am. And you think that until you skip a day or two of meditation, and then you realize that is not the way that I am. That's the way that I am when I'm meditating. Okay, I got to get back on meditation. And then you get a little bit more, and now it's now I'm just regularly happy all the time. I'm smiling like I smile. And people ask me, what are you doing that's making you so happy? And you say, I meditate. And they're like, that's amazing. You are such an amazing person. And then you think, I am kind of an amazing person, aren't I? And then you stop meditating because you think you got to the point, right? And so, it's sneaky. It's always, because this is the nature of our existence, it's like layers within layers within layers of desire, and then you think you're getting past it, and then you have another desire, and you think you're getting past that. It's like, you guys know what fractals are? So fractals, it's like this repeating mathematical. It's like an equation that creates this drawing basically, and it's like this repeating thing, and you can look at this wide zoom, and as you keep zooming in and getting closer and closer, it keeps repeating these same types of shapes and the same type of thing. You can keep zooming in basically infinitely, and it does this. This is my understanding of fractals. I don't know anything about it, but that is what our existence is like. We think that we're going to get to this point and we will have arrived. And that is just a fantasy. That is really buying into this whole idea of I'm going to get my desire and then I'm going to be there. And that's all I'm going to want, and that's all I'm going to need. You'll get there, and either on the path to it or when you've arrived there, you'll recognize something else. And it might be something over there, or it might be I'm here and it's within this, I actually need something else. What if it just changed a little bit like this? And so we have to be okay with all of that, and to get beyond the attachment that tells us, if I'm not getting this fast enough, or I'm not getting the way that I want it to, I'm just going to give up. So this is one of the great things that we practice when we meditate, and this is definitely my experience when I meditate, is this ability to recognize, as soon as you're feeling like I've gotten to this state that I wanted to be in with my meditation, so now I'm just gonna kind of relax and let it go. And then your mind starts wandering someplace else, and then you have to bring it back and recognize, no, that thing that I thought that I wanted is not it. That's not the end, right? There's somewhere deeper for me to go. And yet not continue to be attached to what we think we want out of our meditation, to just be able to dive into it and not let ourselves be, thrown off the path. So that's what we're going to practice now. And you can, again, start this meditation with a really strong desire that comes from the ego. This is it. This is the meditation where I finally do it. This is the meditation where I become enlightened, or this is the meditation where I hit samadhi, or this is the meditation where I finally get that glimpse of what is beyond the ego. And then just sit and have this earnestness to the meditation, have this intentionality to your practice, where it's got to be this one. And then when you sit and you don't get it, let that go and just keep sitting.